rings and he shaves to the championship ship. That Nick Bosa drop him hard like a hit stick. The Jimmy Ward intercept him with a big six.
And what's going on, everybody? Welcome to IE Sports Radio. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex will be joining us shortly. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. What's going on?
Doing good today. Another exciting day in 49 land.
Yes. Never a dull moment. All right. So let's
counting
get to
comp picks currently.
Yes. All right. Let's get to our special guest. We'll bring him in. Jack Hammer from the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Jack, thanks for coming on the show. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, good to have you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, before we dive into free agency, as long as you've been with the Santa Rosa Press Democrat and covering the 49ers, now you're actually a 49ers fan, right?
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, so I went to my first Niner game in 1980. Used to go to Rockland for training camp back in the, when I was in junior high, early part of high school, all that kind of stuff. Had season tickets from 85 through 2003, and then life started getting in the way of being able to go to the games all the time. So I just started watching, and I started actually writing about the team a little bit in 2013. I think it was 2014 on my own site. Some people were telling me I should do it. So I started doing that. And I was just a commenter all the time on the blog that I run now at the Press Democrat. I used to just be a commenter there. I used to give Grant Cohn grief all the time because that's when he was running it. And so we used to have a lot of fun. and I got fortunate and I was able to start working with him in 2020, and everything just worked out really well. So I joined the Press Democrat for the 2021 season right during training camp that year.
Awesome. And what's been a highlight for you covering the 49ers?
It's so many things, being able to go into the locker room and talk to the players after the game, talking to, seeing Samson Ebicom, for example, just leave the 49ers. I was just thinking about that because my first day on the beat, that was my first training camp practice. I had a chance to I asked him a question during the press conference. That was my first press conference that I was able to sit in. And I asked him a question about, making the move from the Rams to the Niners and his role. And that's something that, it meant a lot, especially growing up in the area like I did.
Awesome.
All right. So who's your favorite player to interview?
I don't know if I really have a favorite player to interview, but I would say that my favorite group of players to interview would be the linemen, because the way that they have to play the game in such a cohesive group. If you really want to know what's going on, they're going to give you the details of really the success or lack of the team. Especially that offensive line group. People always look at those big offensive linemen as, whatever, the quarterback's the dream guy, but the offensive linemen, those guys, that's the smart group right there. You want to learn a little bit about football, you go talk to the offensive linemen because they know everything that's happening. And there's not a group on the field that has to play more together and have a feel for what everybody else is doing than those five.
It's really good that we don't have in 49 land the deal like the Shanahan teams did back in the day in Denver where the offensive line didn't talk, or like you would really be missing out, it seems like.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like for example, the Cowboys game, that was one where it felt like the offense really struggled in the first half, and they got better as the game rolled on, and it seemed like they kind of figured some stuff out. And I was asking Spencer Burford about it after the game, and some of the things that he told me were helpful for what I put into the article, and really made sense for what we saw in terms of just guys needing to be able to make their blocks so they can get to the second level and kind of and getting on the right tracks and things like that. So that ability to chat with those guys in the locker room is invaluable for me.
And speaking of the offensive line, the continuity on the offensive line, signing Jake Brendel, Mike McGlinchey moves on to Denver. We re-signed Colton McKivitz. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think the 49ers offensive line is terrific that what they've been able to do there. I felt last year's offensive line was probably the best group that the 49ers have had since Kyle Shanahan's been here. When you look at what they were able to accomplish across the board, the fewest sacks, they were able to run for, I think, 4.7 yards per attempt last year. So they did a really good job. And last year at this point, there were a lot of questions about this group, right? Nobody knew really what was going on at left guard with Aaron Banks. How was he going to be? Who was the center going to be? Because I don't even know if at this point, Alex Mack, I'm not even sure if he had retired yet at this point a year ago. Right guard, we didn't know who was going to be, and nobody knew what was going to happen with Mike McGlinchey at this time a year ago because he was coming off of the injury from the year before. A lot of people were saying that could be a career-ending type of deal. So they're much further ahead. They're bringing 4 of the 5 back. McKivitz, I think, you look at, it's easy to see that he's the one that needs to pick it up if he's going to be the starter at right tackle. He's a really good run blocking, tackle. His ability to in pass protection is where he needs to show his biggest strengths. But I think this is a good group overall. I'm excited to see what they can do, and I think they're going to add another guy at tackle in the draft as well.
Oh, yeah. I can easily see them picking up a few linemen in the draft just to try them out, see what they can do, and plan for the future.
Yes.
So I'm in agreement with you there.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca.
Sorry, guys. Having some connectivity issues today.
That's okay.
We're proud of you for having them. Like, I had mine before I got connected too, as opposed to having them on this time. So it was a unique and fun experience, and it really changed things up a lot. So no, it's totally different perspective, really. Speaking of different perspectives, it was really nice to see the 49ers going out and spending on a top-end defensive lineman. And I know some people are like, oh, they should have done the DeForest Buckner thing. But in my mind, I guess they're like, hey, you know what? We need to get more production out of the defensive line. It's as simple as that, no matter how we got here. Let's talk a little bit about that move and what that means for this defense moving forward.
Yeah, this is a huge deal, right? You take, as far as guys talking about, they should have kept DeForest Buckner. You taking a shot at me, Maddie? Come on now.
No, it's honestly, it's almost like we have to mention it. It's like we have to acknowledge the wrong that has been done before we move forward. But it's like we already know, They took a swing and they missed. Like they didn't they did not hit the home run that they were thinking they were going to, right? Clearly. Mm-hmm. And at least one team I'm just totally cool with them 2 years saying, all right, we 3 years at this point. All right, we didn't do this right. We got to make up for it, right? Like, to me, this is cool. I really like this.
Yeah, that's one of the good things, right? That's just a normal part of life. You screw up, you figure it out, you make if you're able to course correct, that's what it's all about, right? And so I do like the signing of Javon Hargrave. This is a guy who I think totally changes the dynamic of that front for the 49ers. You now have Hargrave and Eric Armstead in the middle who can they're quarterbacks, they don't like pressure, but they really don't like it when that pressure is coming up the middle in their face. Yep. And you add those two in the middle with Nick Bosa on the outside, and all of a sudden Nick Bosa is going to either find himself with a lot of one-on-one opportunities, or Armstead or Hargrave is going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities. Somebody along that line is going to get it, and they have guys that can win now. And I really think this is a big move for the 49ers. It fits their MO of wanting to build from the front back.
Indeed.
They've stayed true to themselves so far through this process, the first 3 days of free agency with what they do.
Now, do you see them adding another? Obviously, they would add another defensive tackle, defensive end as far as depth goes. Do you see them doing that in the free agency, in the draft?
Both.
Yeah, no, I think you'll see both, right? Because they have so many spots left. So I think you're going to see them address defensive end in free agency. I think you'll see them address. Well, they have 11 picks. So are they going to use all 11 picks? I find that hard to believe. But I do see them adding a couple more guys. They don't right now. You look at the defensive line. I think they only have six seven guys right now signed, and they need to get to. They usually carry about 9 or 10, so they're going to have to make some more additions here. I don't know. They might make one big splash signing at defensive end. That's kind of what I think a lot of folks are hoping for. I think it'd be great if they can make a deal for Unique Ngakoue to bring him in. He's familiar with the wide 9 system that like the 49ers run, but they're gonna make an addition or two there. If it doesn't happen right away, look for them to just add. Like we've seen them find these 1-year guys. They did it today with Clell Farrell. So.
Speaking of Clellan Farrell, talk a little bit about him. I know, like within the last hour, we signed Isaiah Oliver, who will be in nickel coverage. Just talk a little bit about them, what they'll bring to the squad.
Well, Farrell's what the 49ers do, right? They bring in these reclamation projects and they stick him over in that one corner of the practice field with Chris Kosarek and put him in the lab and let him do his work. And I was going through it earlier for the blog and the updates that I've been doing. And you look at what they've been able to do with the 49ers. 2020, it was Kerry Hyder. They were able to get him paid. 2021, Arden Key. This last season, it was Charles Amenahu. Now I think it looks like it's going to be Clellan Farrell. Possibly, if they don't go out and sign a big guy, that's going to be that other addition that they're going to try to get something out of as a secondary piece. And then Isaiah Oliver, I think Isaiah Oliver is an upgrade over Jimmy Ward in the slot as a cover guy. I think the 49ers in the last today filled the one big need on the defense that I saw, which was that slot corner spot. This defense, as it is currently constructed, bringing the guys back that they brought back, the 2 additions that they've made over there, they are better right now than they were in the NFC Championship game.
Jack, can you repeat that for the people in the back, please?
Everyone screaming, we've gotten worse.
Yes.
No. Listen, we weren't going to let anyone walk that we thought we needed. And I would agree with you that if we didn't need them, we we're going to let them go. And I was wondering your thoughts on those exact pieces that we signed today. And you just said it out loud. So good.
Yeah, that's me. I'm not afraid to say stuff and get myself in trouble with my takes. But I think they've gotten better. And you look at the guys that they lost yesterday. When people were getting upset with all these players signing elsewhere. I don't know about you guys, but I remember just in the last month or so hearing a lot about how the 49ers have so many injuries on their team, how injury riddled this roster is on a regular basis. You look at the players that they lost yesterday, and there's a common theme there. Those are all guys that have dealt with a lot of injuries, injuries last year, injuries earlier on in their career. Now, Isaiah Oliver, he's coming off of a knee injury in 2021, but he played really well in 2022. So,
yeah, one of his only interceptions was Jimmy G.
Yeah, at the right end of the first half there. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The Atlanta game that my son still hates the Falcons for. Like I've never known anyone to even care about the Falcons truly, but my 8-year-old son, like you mentioned, the Atlanta Falcons, he's ready to just tear things up. He's still mad about that. Like
it was a tough game to be at. I mean,
it really was. He's still bitter about that. Like he can't wish enough bad things upon the Atlanta Falcons. I'm like, buddy, you missed 28-3. Like, like he really got a kick out of the Colts thing. Like, like he's like, that was a quarterback for the Falcons. I was like, but not for that day though. He goes, oh, well, whatever. It's fine. It's no big deal. Let's get with it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was definitely a hard game to be at, especially if you were sitting in the sun.
As you were,
getting blasted.
Zone.
First time I've ever given up like expensive seats for the cheaper seats because I didn't want to die. Like, I don't feel like it today. I didn't feel like blazing in that sun because that sun wasn't moving. It was just there the whole time, like growing like a plant. It's like a little greenhouse. Unbelievable.
Jack, to talk a little bit about the quarterback position, because it's not a show, it's not a day in 49ers land without talking about the quarterback position.
So first of all, Matt tries to get me in trouble. Now you're trying to get me in trouble. Come on, Jess.
That's a theme here.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
All
We're
the
a
hot
team, Jack. We're a team.
Give us
Come
your
on now.
Sam Darnold QB1 takes. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to
Yes.
see.
Go ahead. Go.
Is Sam Darnold going to be? No, I don't. Here's the
No.
thing, and I put it on my channel last night, and I had talked about it earlier in the day with a couple of different people. The way that Sam Darnold's contract is put together, I think he's coming in to compete for the starting job or compete with Trey Lance, compete for starts on this team. Now, is he going to get it? That's a different story. I do think there's going to be a competition there. We'll see what happens with Brock Purdy, right? The UCL injury, that's a tough one. The surgery gets done. 6 months puts him back right around the end of August.
Are you sure about that timeline, Jack?
Yeah, if you want, you do 24 weeks after surgery, which is basically 6 months, and that puts him back. I think it was like the 25th, which is the day after the final preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't be sure on it because everybody heals differently. If he heals at the rate of Nick Mullins, who former 49er quarterback who had this surgery back in 2020, early 2021, he'll be cleared in 5 months and be ready for training camp. So I know it's all, we don't know what's going to happen there. The one thing I will say that I did find interesting about the contract for Sam Darnold is that part of it is he has per game clauses, incentives in there, and they actually those are likely to be earned incentives, and they actually built in 7 games worth of likely to be earned of those playing time incentives into his salary cap for this year, which could possibly mean the 49ers expect him to be active for 7 games. Now, does that reflect on how they feel about where Brock Purdy is? That's to be determined. But I don't know. I look at this quarterback thing and Trey Lance, we don't know enough about him, and we'll see what happens. He's a guy who you watch him play and he'll show you flashes. He hasn't shown you consistency. It's been kind of tough in games. I do have to say though, the second half and end of the second quarter, second half of the game against Houston, that was really good. If he does that on a regular basis, nobody's talking about it, right?
Right.
And so I mean, we'll see.
I loves it.
We'll see. I mean, it's a big we'll see, right? And
Right.
in some ways, and I'm kind of rambling here, but I think when you look at what I'm saying about Trey Lance, when you look and you see what Kyle Shanahan said about Trey Lance to Albert Breer last year in August, what he said about Albert Breer in August was he hasn't played enough. You can see flashes of everything that you want in a quarterback. We just need to give him time to play and to improve and all those types of things.
Right.
And that's what he said in August. You can say the same thing about Sam Darnold, right? I think. I mean,
all of them.
That's what. Well, yeah. Especially. Well, I think with Brock Purdy, you saw it on a much more consistent basis than the other 2 that are on the roster right now. I think that's what happened. But like everybody said, here's the thing. I'm going to leave it with this. I'll leave it with this, and then we can debate it or whatever. I've heard over and over and over again, people who are ardent supporters of Trey Lance tell other folks that a big reason for his success was because he had Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and all those weapons that he had. But at the same time, those folks are telling you that, and so let's see what Trey Lance can do with all these weapons. Has anybody looked at the weapons and the coaches that Sam Darnold's played under in 5 years in the NFL?
You don't want to look at them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, now again, I'm not saying that Trey Lance is going to lose the job, but I think there's going to be a competition. The best guy is going to win. And at the end of the day, competition makes everybody better. And so they're going to roll the ball out there when these guys hit the field. And the guy that plays best is going to be the starter.
Boom.
I know
That's
it's
simple.
really boring.
If there's
No.
one thing,
And who's the healthiest at that particular point in time, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a
At the
good
end of
point,
the
too.
day, we have to keep remembering that because it could happen at any time.
Yeah.
if we have taken nothing away from last season, it could happen at any time. So you need 3 able-bodied quarterbacks ready to go, and probably another one back in the cannon as well, just in case. I still think there's probably going to be a pick a year on a quarterback moving forward every year, especially if they're going to keep getting comp picks like Pez.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one thing that this regime has shown is that they love competition. And I think these two guys, like I mentioned last week on our show, Trey Lance and Brock Purdy were on Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and they were saying they expect to compete.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a Walsh thing too, right? Like that was.
Totally,
I mean, that's really that's really the foundation that this entire freaking whole thing, 5 rings was built on. Bill Walsh bringing in people, for amateur tryouts and only bringing in Bill Ring. But you know what? He had some pretty good plays for this team. Like the entire thing was about competing. He even had Joe Montana competing for his job for years, right? Like everybody competed on that team.
Ronnie Lott.
Dwight Clark.
Who sends those guys packing? Bill Walsh did.
Correct.
He wanted to make sure the next man up was better than the guy he's got right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting to think about Sam Darnold also being in the conversation to compete for quarterback for starting role.
They were scouting him back then,
Yeah.
They've got tape. They know. They've been paying attention to him this whole time.
Yeah.
Last year they were kind of sniffing around too.
Yep.
Right.
They inquired.
I mean, he's young. He's young enough. He was a highly selected quarterback. It's not like he's our quintessential dude who's going to be willing to sit on the bench and play the third role and maybe get a shot. No, I think he's got some chops that they're interested in seeing what they can do with. Put you
They're
through
the emperor.
School of magic and see what happens, right?
They're the emperor looking at young Skywalker with great interest in Phantom Menace. That's exactly what that is. You know what I mean?
Like, Obi-Wan, can we do something?
We're gonna be keeping an eye on you, kiddo, just in case.
Yeah. Well, he was a 3rd round pick, like Trey Lance was, and just kind of a funny thing too. This is the second guy from the top 10 of that 2018 draft quarterback that the Flyers have had on their roster. They had Josh
Rosen.
Josh Rosen. Yeah. He was taken at number 10 in that draft. So now they got the number 3 pick, and Isaiah Oliver was I know that's off of the quarterbacks, but he was a 2nd round pick in 2018 for the Falcons, and he was a teammate of Akella Witherspoon in college, who was drafted by the 49ers. So there's a lot of knowledge here.
It's a lot of use now. You're starting to see them actually utilize all the stuff that they've done over the last 6-7 years. As you mentioned, that's probably stuff that they probably found for tape back when they were scouting Witherspoon. So like they're building, that they're building a tape deck for just about every one of these guys, which they can go to later because every 4 or 5 years, or when somebody gets cut, there's still more waves of free agency to come. You got the draft coming up. You're going to have a lot more people. You'll probably get some more people get cut in the next few days as teams decide to go shopping in a little bit different spots. Kind of like how you saw Zeke Elliott, being told he was being cut as opposed to June 1st today. Like, there's a whole lot of movement to be done in these rosters to be getting so excited by the end of day 1 of legitimate free agency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at the comment section. Brian Culp, he had a good question over there about Sam Darnold and seeing ghosts. And I just wanted to say real quick, I think it's a little known fact that that Kyle Shanahan is actually a member of the Ghostbusters. So Furniture should be okay.
Look, at the end of the day, if somebody comes here as a defensive lineman and can't be fixed, he's gone, right?
Yeah.
I also think it's the same way with the quarterbacks. If he can't play here, he can't play any. Has Josh Rosen played anywhere since he left?
He was with the Falcons, I believe, last year.
But did he? He didn't.
But he didn't
There's been
play.
no,
No, I don't
like,
think he
did you get
played. No.
He couldn't get snaps on
Went to
that
the
team
rookie
last
over
year
him.
at any point in time.
Right.
At one point, I thought Mariota was broken, if I remember correctly, or throwing passes from his ass or something. Like, if you can't get a couple of snaps on that team, you're not getting snaps ever. Period.
Yep.
Jack, last one for me. Out of the players who signed elsewhere, do you think any of them are a huge loss for the 49ers?
I think the biggest loss is Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. I just think, can they replace him? Yeah, but I think he's maybe I'm just saying that because the people disliked him so much from, there was just so much dislike towards him. Maybe that's why I'm thinking that way.
I love
Mike, no.
Right?
Really?
Mike, no.
Polarizing Mike McGlinchey. Who would have thought it?
It's McGlinchey, and I think Jimmy Ward's going to be missed a little bit for his leadership. Yeah. I think you look at the starters. Jimmy Garoppolo, they've moved on from him. I think he might have some success out with the Raiders, though. So it's if I was going to pick one guy, I would say most likely it's going to be McGlinchey. Jimmy Ward might have a good year or two left in him too, so we'll see.
Only one more for me. Have you ever used Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer as any sort of intro for anything you've ever done?
I wish.
Or is that
wish.
some sort of
Talking about
Weird
that
Al
earlier
Yankovic
with Ty.
parody with your own name? I'm just
No, I didn't do not that one, but I used to have when I first started on YouTube. There's a song from Queen, if you know Queen. Hammer to Fall is one of their hits, and so the opening to that is it's a good riff. So I had that as the beginning, but I had to get rid of that when I started the channel because it was hitting up against the
the
copyright stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, our robot overlords were not enthused. I understand completely. Yeah.
No, they are not. They're not happy at all. Oh.
Okay, Jack, since you're an old school fan who now covers the team, been around for a while, I got to hit you with a game of start, bench, cut.
Okay.
All right. So, who would you start, bench, and then cut? From the tight ends group, you got Brent Jones, Vernon Davis, and of course, George Kittle. Who you going with?
I'm going to go with Kittle.
You starting Kittle?
Yeah, I go with Kittle.
Okay.
And I would probably bench Brent Jones out of that group. I mean, I like Brent. He'd put up some good numbers, but the athleticism that Vernon Davis. I don't know. That's a tough one because Jones was more of an all-around tight end probably than Vernon Davis was. Yeah. But the numbers as a receiver that he put up are pretty darn good.
The lack of love for Russ Francis
You're
is disturbing
cutting?
to me.
I know. I
100%.
always
Cutting
want to
Vernon
include
Davis?
Russ, but I can't. I try to keep it somewhat up for the younger fans out there.
Ty,
Russ-
what about?
Oh, wow.
What
I
about
feel
a-
excluded right now. I don't feel included in this. I feel now
Same,
as a
Matt,
Raiders fan
same.
that I am being excluded. That's what I feel like. I thought this was a place for all 49ers fans, damn it.
It is.
What the hell?
That's why I got to make sure I include the younger fans.
I think we're all in
Ty.
the same age group too, Ty. So that's really
We
rude
are.
of you to exclude Matt and I.
I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
Ty, what about a start, sit, bench for beat writers for Jack?
All right,
I'm
Jack,
really trying to
I'm
get me in
gonna-
trouble with this one now.
That's
I
right.
really like this one. This is
Ooh,
gonna be
let's
good.
get them really in trouble. All
Like,
right,
no trouble
we're
at
gonna go
all
with-
here.
we're going to go with start, bench, cut, Jennifer Lee Chan, Tracy Sandler, or Kate.
Man, that's a
Whoa.
that's a
On
You're all, like,
International Women's
youngins,
Month,
too,
you're
like
doing this.
new
This is
youngins.
That's why I
unbelievable.
said we're going to really
Yeah.
get them in trouble. Forget the
No,
quarterback talk. Let's
I
answer
don't
this
know.
one.
We
They're all
know
starting.
what Clinton
They're all
comes
starters.
out.
They're all starters.
They're all
They're all
yeah.
starters. I'm not-
He's going with the 3 quarterback
That's the
set.
first time we've ever had
We're gonna
that.
we're gonna
Jack.
rotate. Yeah, exactly. We're not. They're all gonna. We're just gonna rotate. It's gonna be.
There you
This is
go.
Tommy Maddox and Sean Moore in Denver, the year that John Elway got hurt. They're just going to alternate. Craig Morton and
Quarterback
Roger
committee.
Staubach.
See,
Yeah,
there
let's
you
go.
Jack's a smart man. I like it.
Awesome, Jack. We know you got to
Right
run.
around that trap.
Thank you so much for joining
Thanks,
us.
man.
Thank you.
We would love to talk to you down the road. Again, thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, let's do it again. Let's do it again during the off season. Hit me up and we'll make sure we make it happen.
Definitely. Thanks again.
Take it easy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. That was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just
I think
impressed.
we got him
that's
into
his real
trouble at
name.
least like 3 times.
Yeah.
Tried anyway, right?
It's amazing. It's well done. It's
We're
well
gonna start
done.
scaring off guests. Oh no.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Ooh, I don't know if I
Put 'em
want to
on your
play
show.
that game.
We saw what you did to Jack.
By the way, I needed to take a quick time out, and this is not to do the read yet because I am going to do that in just a hot second. But if you look very closely, outside of the wood carving that my late father did, which is great, that's Portland Headlight, one of a kind. But the hat on the bottom left is an old starter hat that I won because Elvis Gerbach beat the Cowboys in 1995. So I just wanted to point
Wow.
that out. Yes, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was one of the first bets I ever won, and has started a love of degenerate gambling that I've had ever since. So just realize you got to get started on that. And I took the points in that game. Didn't have to. It was even better. Great.
That.
awesome.
That was a good
just-
day.
Real quick, I wanted to say hello to some people in the chat. And a congratulations is in order for Brian Culp.
Yes, indeed. Congrats to you and Tony.
Yes,
That's awesome
congratulations. Hope mom and baby are okay. So David McNiner, Brian, 49er Minded, what's up, Bashar? Bebop Jones, Rob D, what's going on, everybody?
Terradome. Who else is here? Yep.
It's quite a party.
Awesome. It's
Indeed.
a party.
Speaking of
Live.
parties, by the
Go
way,
ahead.
for the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you the party. Okay.
Woo!
Bringing from, we're talking amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all the major sports cities around the country. All the while, it's been by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, they are ready to take the next step. You can go to iesportsradio.com anytime. Do it now, do it later, just do it. You're going to see the Patreon link there with 5 different advertising link tiers. First one is just $5 a month, and that donation gets you shout-outs on all the shows, including this one. You don't even have to be in the chat. We just do it. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to Podcaster U, and even a chance to be featured on the flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thanks again for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, that's iesportsradio.com. And Jess, what else do people need to do?
Like and subscribe to our show, and also iesportsradio.com/East Coast Red and Gold.
That's right.
Please.
Terms and conditions apply. Sizing may vary.
Term
Sure,
and
I
conditions.
McIntyre that like button.
I used to do that when you used to do it in radio, like they used to do the speed up. So what I used to do is just do it really fast, and people be like, "Did you speed that up automatically?" I'm like, "No, I just wrote it really fast."
Yeah.
60 months, 0.9% financing. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for
I
details.
sped it up manually.
I
Yeah.
just thought that was like on like extra super fast loop. Like people can't really read that quickly. Like
No, I mean most people
45%
do.
down.
But,
Blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Yeah,
but,
that's impossible. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you just get bored. So it's like I got to do something different outside of reading this, reading that. Because no matter what it is, it kind of reads the same. In this
Although
case,
if
it
you've ever been
doesn't.
to an auction, those people could read it like that.
I wish I could do that. That would be like my dream.
gosh.
That would be my life. Just
Be
go
an
in,
auctioneer.
auction something, not my stuff. I just auction it and leave. Right?
40,
Cattle.
45, 45,
One of my
45,
favorite things to
45.
do as a kid
Yeah,
was
oh,
to
over
go
there.
to.
Like,
I go with my
come on,
grandfather to the auction. Like I didn't even like farming, but like I liked going to the auction because there was an auction. There was action happening at the auction, man. There was stuff going on.
And people are he's keeping right up. Like it's so amazing to
Right.
watch. It's really, really kind of cool.
I think it's probably why I like free agency and the draft and the team building aspect sometimes even
Yeah.
more than what I see on the field, right? Because a lot of times, like,
Mhm.
things happen on the field that you can't predict, like,
Mhm.
torn UCLs and concussions to your other backup and things of that nature. Like, there's all sorts of weirdness that happens. But in the off season, there's this world of possibilities that could possibly happen, right? That you see. Whether it's the financial stuff, the things that are moving, who they're signing, who they're not signing, who's going in, who's going out. Nobody was talking about Hargrave like last week. But if you go back in history, like when the 49ers got good again after they lost to the Cowboys the second time and Ted Washington broke his leg, they drafted Bryant Young. They drafted up to get him, and they talked about changing their scheme to make things good. Well, what did they do? 30 years later, surprise, they realize that the middle is soft. No matter what happens, no matter how Devontae Smith catches the game, anything that happens, the middle was soft in that game. Didn't matter who was quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Montana could have stepped out of a time machine from 1981 and could not have done anything in that game because he was not going to help them stop the run in that game, right? Like there was no stopping it. So in this case, you go get the guy and you weaken them, right? You weaken the team that bested you last year, and you make that defensive line a strength. And now with this tougher defensive line, some of these guys that you're bringing in to be a nickelback, they can learn on the job a little bit easier because they're going to have some pressure to help them. It's a win-win-win all around.
So I just wanted to say thank you to a couple of 49ers and wish them well. And, two of them being Mike McGlinchey and Jimmy Garoppolo. So glad that we don't have to talk about Jimmy G anymore. But wish you well out there in Vegas. Jimmy Ward, E-Man, Aziz, Hassan Ridgeway, Samson Ebukam, Dan Brunskill, and Charles Amenahu. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I started to keep I compiled my own list of who we signed, who we lost, and I started to get a little upset yesterday.
Same. I'm over here
it's a tough part of it, man, because especially for the folks that go out and meet some of these guys, or and it's tough for media members when you meet a lot of these guys, no matter what it is, you meet them, it's hey, look, I got a photo of this good. Now he plays somewhere else. It's part of the whole gig. It's not, you're not going to get that guy. They don't all just stay for forever, which is really sad, right? You think you build someone, it's oh wow, they're on their fourth year, they're out. Just as soon as it's like college, as soon as you're getting to know them, that's it, right? So it's one of the sad parts of the business, but the cool part is they can always come back, right?
Yep.
And the other thing is if anything ever happens and they move on to something else, that gives you something to root for, right? For example, for my son Jameson, for everybody that remembers, Jimmy G threw a towel to him in Atlanta because Jess is fantastic at crowd placement and knew exactly where Jimmy was going to be. That was all Jess's deal. She knew.
That's how I roll.
It just worked out like that. That's it. Just how it rolled. He's going to root for the Raiders as a third team only because Jimmy's playing there. But if Jimmy's not playing, he doesn't care what the Raiders do. So I thought that was really nice. But it gives you that little, oh wow, it gives you a reason to root for some of these teams that really honestly you want to fall off a cliff. So, it gives you that rooting interest when you're watching a game somewhere else, or eventually we're going to need the Raiders to win a game for the 49ers for something. So it's going to be great to root for that or whoever, right? It could be anybody. If Charles Amenahu makes a big play for somebody, you'll be yeah, thanks for helping, buddy. It gives you that little oomph for it.
That's how I feel about Trent Brown. He went to the Patriots and they won the Super Bowl. But when Big T was on the Niners, we would do those ladies charity events, and he came in. He wasn't even supposed to be there, injured. He came and he had seen me. We had met a couple of years in a row at those events. He came and sat right down. I was like, "Can I get you something? What do you want? What can I do for you?" And even as he was succeeding in New England, as friends on Twitter, and he had his personal issues, he was very, very, very kind. And to this day, when I saw him the last time, I was like, "Hey, is there something I can do for you? Can I take a picture? Because I remember you. I know you. I know who you are." He was still my friend on Twitter, and even when he went to New England, and just really a nice guy. So I was very happy for him when they had success. Not that I wanted Tom to win any more rings, but for Trent Brown, I was very happy. He's a great guy. He was really a super dude. and it was nice. It was nice. So to your point, yes, when they leave and go elsewhere, you still want them to be successful when they're nice people and they do well. And yeah, so
As long as they're not facing the 49ers. If facing the
Right.
49ers, that's all
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
it.
I
all
hope
bets
you
are
have
off.
an amazing
All
game,
bets are off.
and you can utilize this for whatever you want. But honestly, I hope you don't win, right? Like,
If
I
your
hope you have
stripes
like the
are the
greatest
opposite
game
color,
ever that you could have at your position in a loss. That's what I'm hoping for. And
Exactly,
that's not
exactly.
personal on you. It's because I'm self-centered. So
hey,
it's fine.
we're very selfish and protective of our team.
Correct.
So, hey,
That's very much what it
As
is.
we
I've
should
seen
be.
enough.
as we should be.
Correct.
Exactly.
So DeForest Buckner seems to be a little butthurt about the
Ooh, salty?
Javon Hargrave. Salty is probably a better way of putting it, but I'll just go ahead with butthurt
Mhm.
about the Javon Hargrave signing. Ty, what do you got to say about that?
Hey, get over it, man. Everybody needs to get over it. Like, it was
Him
a different
especially.
time, different situation.
Yeah.
Just get over it, man. The business was totally different then. Shoot, if we had the money, you would have been here. We didn't. Get over it.
I agree with you there. I think, like, the parallels from yesteryear to today year, not the same thing.
Nope.
I mean, if we could have kept him when we needed to back then, we would have, but it's not the same league, not the same situation. And I don't think, even if we tried to go after him, could we have gotten him? I mean, is he a free agent, like for real a free agent that we could have
He's
pursued?
not a free agent right now. No.
No, I didn't think so. Right? Like,
No.
so
But he wasn't a free
his
agent then
situation then
either.
versus our situation now are not
Yeah.
exactly matching up. So if you were a free agent right now and so was he, we might have gone for DeForest Buckner over
Yeah.
Javon, whatever his name is.
Hargrave,
But yeah, like it's not the same thing. I don't think it is. And the money may be parallel, but no, we're not in the same situation. It's not the same boat.
What do you think, Maddie?
The thing with him, man, is it's kind of like, I think he's only saying this now because of where he ended up, right? Like, if he'd ended up in Philly as an example, I don't think he'd give a flying rat's ass who was making what today, right? It's kind of like the whole. If you guys were watching it today, Jacoby Myers getting all wound up because the initial money for Juju Smith-Schuster going to New England came in at the same price as what he was. Now it turns out later that the guarantee was actually less. The way it was all set up, like it's actually a heck of a value, and is probably a better value than what Jacoby Myers would have been for them. But they see that initial thing and they're like, "Wow, I could have done that. I could have done that, right?" And I get it. Like that's part of him being a competitor. Like that's part of Micah Parsons chirping on Twitter as well, right? If that's who you are, so be it. But man, it was 2 years ago, and it kind of makes you wonder if he's the one that's still talking about it. Like maybe that's why certain media members continue to mention it like at every single drop of a hat, right? And I'm not talking about just Jack. I'm talking about like the ones that tend to push random agendas, for example, for whatever possible reason that they might be, because of friendship with an agent or whatever it might be. It just seems really interesting to me that like of all the guys that have come and gone over the years, that's the one dude that nobody can get over. Like, it's not like they traded Michael Jordan or Babe Ruth, right? Like, It was DeForest Buckner, man. Like, he was good. He was a good fit, but he wasn't going to be a good fit at that price with what else they needed to do.
Exactly.
Would you rather have
He
DeForest
wanted to
Buckner
get
or Nick
paid.
Bosa? Right.
And rightfully so. He wanted to get paid. Was he good?
As he
Yeah.
should
I
have.
mean, could we have used him? Yes, but he was going to cost us too much in the moment that we needed to have money to do other things. And at that point, what are you going to do? You have to. It's the business, and if they don't all understand it by now, shame on DeForest Buckner. But I think he does get it. He got paid. He got paid well. He might not have been in He might have wanted to stay, might have wanted to do other things, but I mean, come on. You know how this business works, like everyone else does. These guys
At
are
the end of the
leaving to
day,
go.
it is a business.
Right. They're going to go get their money. Look what McGlinchey's getting paid, for God's sake.
To go and
Look
block
at what
air
Lakeland Tomlinson got
highest
last year.
altitude in Denver.
Lakeland
Yeah.
Thompson and some of these other guys that are leaving us today were like, okay, get yours, man.
They're getting paid.
You're going to get paid, and God bless you. Go have a great time. But we need to fill these same shoes, and we don't want to see everybody leave. Like E-Man, I didn't want to see E-Man leave, but he's going to take the money over loyalty to the team. Same way the teams are going to take players over over the money. You know, they get it. They all get the same scheme.
But
do you want the guy 1 year off of ACL surgery who had a pretty good year last year for a not great team, or do you want to pay more for a guy that you know is going to be fresh off of an ACL surgery? And the first year off an ACL surgery, sometimes they don't miss a beat, sometimes it takes a bit, right? Like that's a gamble all in itself. I think they got a better value on Isaiah Oliver.
That he was going to be like depth, like he wasn't even going to start. E-Man.
Right. That was the whole other thing. Like,
because remember, he got injured week 6. So just going by a calendar year, which they always say it takes you a full year to recover and be able to hit the field. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have seen him until week 6 of this upcoming season.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got to get revved up and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So
you know me.
It would have taken some time to get into, football condition and be able to get on the field. By that time, hopefully the team is rolling and he's just insurance. Right? So he probably was like, nah, I'm ready to start. When I come back, I'm ready to hit the field. So he made the decision to leave.
He wanted to be paid as such, and they were willing to pay him as such. So
yeah.
Okay. Have fun.
And the Wi-Fi monster caught Becca.
Yep.
I'm in Kentucky, so no, all bets are off.
Look, you're lucky you even have Wi-Fi. So yeah.
Hey, right? I am in the backwoods of Bowling Green. No, I mean it's not that bad, but
oh man, I haven't been to Bowling Green for a little bit. I remember getting drunk at a bar in Bowling Green and having to pull my friend off the bathroom floor because the bathroom floor is so cold that it feels so good. Never forget that as long as I live. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, there's like little Western Kentucky University here. It's not even like that kind of a party town. Nashville is an hour south. I mean,
I went to the Maine Western Kentucky game a couple of years ago when Maine fell down by 21-0 and then came back and won it. I think it was the 100-year anniversary of WKU football too. There was some like Cage the Monster or something, or Cage the Elephant or something was playing across the street. Some elephant band. Wow. I don't know. I'm now showing my age. This is why I like Russ Francis as an example. Like
Cage the Elephant's a good band.
I guess they're a really good band, but they were playing like right across the street, like this little tiny road. There's this huge concert going on, and then you've got this football game happening with 78,000 people that just waltz over. Like it was an absolute zoo. And then
my friend lives here, and
they got up 21-0, and Maine comes back and Maine of all teams comes back and wins it. What planet am I on? What is happening?
See that window right there? When I work from here and I'm here, the only service I get is if I sit in the chair on the inside of that. So I literally have to sit there. That's why I'm out here, because in my sweater, freezing my ass off, freezing my buns off, sitting outside because I cannot get cell service. I have to drive up to the clubhouse to get cell service.
Wow.
I love it.
So I have Wi-Fi calling, but the Wi-Fi seems to work pretty decently. It does, have its moments, and tonight it's giving me a couple of insies and outies. But
we got you there. We got Brian Colt shouting out Wayne County.
Yeah, right.
I mean.
This is actually
welcome to the East Coast Red and Gold Country Show, y'all.
We're actually in Warren County, Kentucky. So I'm just saying, it's Warren County over here.
All right,
I live in Warren County, New Jersey. So when I come here, I feel very much at home. It's Warren
There
County.
you go.
So hey, Warren
There you
County,
go.
Warren County.
Perfect.
Reel us
Getting
back,
back,
Jess. Reel us back.
yes,
Yeah,
getting back on
exactly.
track just a little bit.
Right.
Ty, the Javon Hargrave signing, what does that mean for Javon Kinlaw?
That we all know what he is. He's a rotational guy.
Yeah.
We saw that last season. I mean, when he came back at the end of the season, he was allegedly right, healthy. He was a rotational guy. He wasn't out there all 3 downs. He wasn't even out there on goal line sometimes. He was just part of the D-line rotation. And that shows you how they view him. So as far as, his future with the team, we've seen how they've let much better guys go. So
Yeah.
that's what that means for Javon Kinlaw. I mean, if he can show some consistency this upcoming season, maybe that changes. Because when he's right and he gets his pad level low and he anchors down, he's a force. But unfortunately, he's too inconsistent right now.
I think this is them admitting they made a mistake.
Mm.
What I saw in that NFC Championship game, where he was the defensive line version of Mike McGlinchey, just being tossed around like a rag doll, that can't happen, and I think they know that, obviously, because if the fans see it, they 100% see it.
Already know, yeah.
Right,
Well,
Maddie.
it's not only that. I think people focus on that play where he got double teamed. He was engaged with the guard and center blindsides him and just pushes him. That's going to happen, right? You get blindsided, you're going to move. But it's other plays where he's one-on-one with the guard. Just look at that play itself when he's one-on-one with the guard. Look how high up he was, and he was getting like no movement on the guard at all. Even if the center didn't come into play, he's not moving that guy. And that's what I mean about playing too high, not anchoring down. That can't happen.
Here's the
Go ahead,
thing.
Maddie.
His salary cap hit, if you cut him post June 1st, pre June 1st, is $4.9 million. So your hope is you can get him in some sort of form or fashion so you can trade him a little bit to somebody so you can save about $2.7 million on the cap hit. But odds are they're going to end up cutting that, and that's going to be $4.9 million of dead money. If somebody becomes better than him on that rotation, whether it's from the draft, whether it's from street free agency, whether it's from the red shirt program that they've got, they're going to take that 4.9 if they can afford it, if they think they're getting more production out of it, because they can't have another year where they're getting 10 to 15 plays out of him. Yeah. Are they 10 to 15 impact plays? Okay. If they're just 10 to 15 placeholder plays, somebody else can probably do that for about $957,000. And that's not me saying that. That's the league saying that. That's just what they do. So that's what you're going to end up with. And then if he gets cut, I could see him easily going to Carolina. Perfect fit, right? Near home. He's getting paid for the 49ers no matter what this year. So, and don't have to worry about the 5th-year option. So,
or Houston or Tennessee.
Yeah.
Slowly becoming.
I keep forgetting about the Rand
couple of 49er 2.0 teams that will, take these guys.
Oh. Go ahead, Becca.
No, I just said there's a couple of 49er 2.0 teams that will take a lot of our guys. So, if he can show any kind of healthy flash of brilliance, he's going to have a home with one of those guys, and they'll take the risk.
David McNiner, do you folks think we actually use 11 picks in the draft? I don't think so. Trade up, get a right tackle. What do you guys think?
I don't like the trade up and get a right tackle. I think you draft a couple of tackles and pick one. I think you're better. I honestly think this front office is better off just going back and getting scratch tickets, because they tend to find winners, right? They tend to find winners on the $2 to $5 ones, not on the $20 ones. So just go out and buy more $2 to $5 ones. It's more of a quantity thing when it comes to the draft. That's just kind of the way I look at it with that team. Like, I think that's the best way for them to do that, and it helps and allows them to be able to pay their impact players that they currently have, their foundational players, as Les Snead would say, the house players, if you will.
Well, yeah.
Right? Like, kind of that deal. They can backfill that way, and if they don't work out, well, we'll redshirt them and they'll play next year. So I don't want to trade any picks. Keep all of them if you can. Unless you really feel super, super strongly about somebody and move up, get me 2 or 3 different tackles to pick from, and maybe 2 pan out. Maybe all 3 pan out, right? Then maybe you're working from a position of strength. But this team needs all the depth it can get.
Boom.
Forever.
I would agree with that. I mean, we're losing a lot of depth this year.
Yeah.
Look at how many free agents have already gone. So the more we can fill the cupboard again with potentials, I don't see us trading up for a lot of anything. I really don't. We made a couple big free agency splashes, and apparently we're not done, according to Kawakami and others, that we still have somebody else we may be eyeing. If we re-sign Robbie, like, my God, that would be great. But I think you're absolutely right, Matt. We're going to just continue to draft and take those guys in and see what we can do with them to develop within. And that's been our strength literally for the last 4 or 5 years. Like, what have we done? We've drafted these guys, pull them in, and every time somebody gets hurt, it's next man up. And look what they do. They are amazing. And look what the draft capital these guys are bringing for us. We've got the Samson Ebucoms getting high paid jobs, and we're doing amazing things internally. So I don't see us trying to trade up and make a big splash. We're going to do what we always done, which is draft well and develop these guys and hope for the best.
Exactly. 2 excellent points. This team, if you look at this team, it's built through the draft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We signed a few free agents to just fill some voids, but this team is primarily built through the draft. As Rebecca said, we got a bunch of guys we're losing. We can't just sign all free agents to replace them. We're going to refill that through the draft this year. We have a bunch of guys coming off contract next season as well. So we got to start planning ahead. All right, if we're going to lose this guy next season, let's see if we can find a replacement for him now, so we can develop him, just like Rebecca said. That way he's ready to go next season. And all those comp picks that we got coming to us, they'll be used for the draft next season. But let's build this roster properly. And I think we're going to use them all.
All we got to do is go back and look at
that.
Laken Tomlinson last year, right? Go back and look at Laken Tomlinson last year. They knew Laken Tomlinson was going to go away. So what do? They go out and they draft Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore.
Exactly.
Right? And who played this year? What was our main concern last year about this point in the offseason? Oh, God, who's in the offensive line? We can't trust the Aaron Banks. That was a bust. There's a bust pick.
He's a bust. You see him that half a game he played? Oh, my God.
That's the famous phrase of this fan base, is that he's a bust.
He's an hour.
Throw the B word
we're
on
an hour
somebody.
into it. He's a bust, right? Guy gets hit by a bus. Oh, wow. Typical, right? Like, yeah.
Injury prone.
It's the same ball of wax every single time. Just let them. They know what they want to do. They know they can get them in the system. They're either going to fit or they're not. It's just like any workplace out there. Sometimes your new hire classes hit. Sometimes you have 1-2 years later, right? That's just how they go. So to me,
6 months into a new job and I'm looking.
Right? Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're like,
bust. It's not working out. So I get
correct.
it.
It's not working out, right?
Always
Sometimes Antonio Brown leaves the field. Okay. That's just one of those things.
I'm out of here.
It's going to happen.
Not quite Antonio Brown levels of crazy yet, but I'm getting there.
I appreciate you not taking your shoulder pads off. It's really nice that you just left that on. It's good. Really excited about that. But seriously, that's just how it goes. So it's a numbers game at this point. And to me, they're going to hit on all of these things. They're going to hit somebody. Whether they're going to hit somebody in the 6th or 7th round, and we're going to be like, oh wow, they know what
Yeah.
they're doing to that 6th or 7th round. But every chuckle on the internet is going to be mad that they didn't hit every 2nd rounder or every 3rd rounder that they had.
Yeah.
Like, it's just team building, man.
Becca, you had mentioned Tim Kawakami. What has he said? Because I'm blocked, so I can't see.
Well,
what
I
he
am
says.
too, but someone reposted something he said about we're not done yet in the draft or in free agency. Like someone said, must have alluded to the fact that, after we signed the big defensive tackle dude, that the 49ers aren't done yet. And he's there for it, but I was like, well, I have no idea because I can't see what Tim Kawakami says either. But he posted that, and I was like, okay, well, maybe Burrows and the rest of those guys will have something. But I saw that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stay tuned. But I haven't seen us do anything other big free agency hits. But I don't know if that means we're going to re-sign Robbie, because I saw, again, that we're re-talking to Robbie and in negotiations again. So for me,
I saw that too.
Like the biggest possible thing we could do is re-sign Robbie Gould. But yeah, I saw that. That's about as good as I can. With Tim,
We also live in a world now, guys, where Brock Purdy has had his surgery, right? Like, that has been done.
success.
That level of Mario has been unlocked. We have grabbed that flag and we are through that castle, right? We have defeated that dragon.
And it's exactly what everyone said it would be.
Yes. Correct.
The doctor said, this is what you want, expect.
Dr. Meister rocks.
He said, this is the best outcome. That's what we heard was the best outcome. So here we are. Whoop, whoop. Raise the roof.
Amen. Hallelujah. Now let's get through the next 6 to 8 weeks without hearing the phrase. We have to remove that screw, that thing, that
here we
stick,
go.
that hippie dippoo. There's some sort of irritation. I don't want to hear the word irritation. I don't want to hear it. It will irritate me personally.
It will irritate me if you have to say the word irritation and second
Correct.
surgery. If we have to talk about Matt talking about a second surgery, we're all going to be irritated.
I know,
Common
right?
cleanup procedure. Lose my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I drink extra for that show.
Oh yeah, no 100. I'm going to get an IV full of it, or I'll dust off. I'll order one of the old Camelbacks where you put it on your back and you just suck out of the straw.
Great.
Same thing. Yeah.
We'll be having the hats. Yes, we'll all do an episode with hats on where we drink through a straw. But no,
That'd be great.
That would actually be fun.
We all get the double mug one.
we should get the hats.
We should.
So,
We should kind of we decorate them kind of like Niners and just kind of. I think that would be.
Sounds like a draft party.
Oh
yes.
my God.
Yeah.
This could be a beach.
Yeah,
Everyone on
that's a
location
theme
in
show.
the summer.
Yes, that's a really good idea. We're gonna have to discuss.
Gee.
Let's bottle that, and we're gonna discuss that, Becca.
We're gonna bottle that.
Yes.
Hey now.
We're
I like
gonna
that.
bottle
Well done.
that.
She's there already.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw too that they were talking to Robbie and stuff, but I kind of want them to draft a kicker.
And they probably still will with one of our comp picks. But I think if we sign Robbie to a 1 or 2 year deal again, it's a safe friggin' bet for us. It's a good thing. Draft the kicker. Let Robbie teach him all the ways how to go out and have 0 F's about the cheerleaders, the team,
The other players, the band,
Any of it.
0.
right.
When he goes out there, it's the best thing ever to watch in pregame. If you've never seen it live, Robbie is stone cold. He just does his thing. It doesn't matter who's out there warming up. They can be 2 feet from him. He still kicks his attempts. And it's a pleasure to watch him warm up. It's fun, actually, to see him be oblivious. And these kickers that get the yips or whatever nickname they call it, I'm like, I don't know what school Robbie went to, but that's the one you need to learn to go to because he cares nothing about what's going on around him. He has
Kicking through the middle of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders
job,
at halftime of a playoff
That was
game.
the best.
He's
That
like,
was-
that was
"Listen,
great.
Happened right in
I
front of him.
told
Like
them-
he's just kicking away, man. Like they're having to
Yep.
kick her. It's like he's here come the Rockettes, and he's like, I'm gonna go on stage and walk around them. Like, no,
But
whatever.
in
I'll
his
just-
defense, I think he said something to them. He said, I'm about to warm up. You guys need to go this way. And they didn't. And he's like, well,
Here
it
we
is.
go. I'm surprised
You
one
give
can
zero,
get
I
hit in the
give
nose
zero
like
plus
Marsha Brady.
plus.
That would have been great.
He doesn't care. He's been doing it for how many years? So
It
yeah,
doesn't
I mean, if
matter.
we sign Robbie would be the best thing. I think that would be our big free agency splash. Otherwise, that I can think of that we would do, like that would make me
Well, hold on.
happy. I really would love that we sign Robbie a year, 2 years, and then draft a kicker. Let them develop him. I don't care.
Well, hold on. I'm
ahead,
about
Ty.
to get blocked because Tim K simply said we're not done yet.
Yeah,
That's very open ended.
but I thought he
Weird,
also
right?
said something about. I thought he also said something else more like the Niners aren't done yet. So I'm told the Niners aren't done yet, and I'm here for it or something. We're not done yet.
Well,
can't
I mean,
really
it's
see what else that
day one of
means,
free
but-
agency. Way to go out on a limb there, champ.
That's what I
Like,
mean.
Yeah.
Really?
Like we're not done yet. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, you'll
I
get
would hope
blocked,
not.
Ty.
Don't say anything.
If we
If I
sign a
told
water
you not
boy,
to
we're
say
not
anything,
done.
Ty,
You know.
careful, Ty. He might block
Or
you.
no, ask him about the boombox guy.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna get blocked.
I want to be the boom. I want to be the next boombox
What?
person. I already put my resume day one.
'Cause
I was like,
if you tweet him and you actually contradict what he's trying to say, or like say something like that, like, oh, we're not done yet. Like, how about did they hire a boombox guy? He'll block you.
he will block you.
Wow.
I said to someone,
Wow.
be careful what you say to Tim because he's a blocker, and he blocked me for saying that. That's all I said.
I mean, granted, I did call him Tiny
Whatever.
Tim because he really aggravated me during the Harbaugh thing. So, okay, fine. You want to block me? Great. That's fine.
Wow.
He's
Just
a
bringing
short
the
so I
man,
did
too.
say some
just bringing the
very
fire.
disparaging things
Yeah.
about Richard Sherman. So I'm still blocked with Richard Sherman, but whatever. On Twitter, at
I was
least.
unblocked. Richard Sherman actually unblocked me.
I donated to
All
his
right.
charity and still didn't get unblocked. So whatever.
I was
Brian,
blocked by
I
Ben
hope you get
Roethlisberger
it,
for a
Brian.
while, but then whoever took over his account unblocked me when he
We
retired.
all
So that's
applied
great.
for boombox position.
Brian, if you get it, just remember ECRG.
Remember the little
okay?
people in your
That's
life,
right.
Yeah.
Brian. That's all we ask.
Um,
You
Just
will
remember-
return. Picking songs or helping you carry the boombox. That's all.
So, yeah, right. Or helping you carry it. That's great.
We'll be right there.
We'll be like a
bumping and
train
bumping.
coming out of the locker room
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Brian. We're all gonna
No
help you
moves.
carry it.
We
Like,
can,
where's
we
the
can-
players?
I know, right? It's just us.
I'll
just
stand
us
there
now.
like John Cusack with a thing above my head, man. I don't care. Whatever.
Say anything. Oh,
All right,
man.
so Ty, this question's for you.
Cut them
So
off.
I'm still seeing I'm still seeing a lot of Lamar Jackson to the 49ers and
Oh,
trading
Lord.
Trey Lance.
Yes. Yes.
What's
Trey
the
Lance
deal
to
with
the
this?
Vikings.
Like, what? Go ahead, Ty. Go
so
do your thing.
So you got to remember all these narratives that came out, and they started back in November of who the next quarterback is going to be for the 49ers. And the four names that were mentioned was Tom Brady,
Retired.
Aaron Rodgers,
A Jet.
James Richard,
Vegas.
and Lamar Jackson.
Not happening.
So 3 of the 4 are gone, right? So now they're holding out hope for that 4th one just to keep the narrative going. And it doesn't matter that, we're hoping Trey Lance could be something. We're hoping Brock Purdy can be something. We want Sam Darnold to compete at his fullest, right? Doesn't matter. They just got to keep this narrative going. And of course, it just makes sense for the 49ers to do it because they get him. They're an automatic Super Bowl team, which we know nothing in football is automatic. Nothing. So it's just something to talk about to keep the narrative going at this point.
It's also put out there to keep Lamar Jackson's name flowing, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, well, people could have started talking to Lamar Jackson today at 4:00.
Yeah.
If they're willing to trade 2 first-round picks, which, fun fact, the 49ers traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, who had much less of a resume than Lamar Jackson, right? Much less of a resume. Anybody in the league at this point
Fair point.
can call and reach out to the NFLPA and get in contact with Lamar Jackson and talk to him and bring him around and give him a tour of the franchise and do the whole thing, and they can offer him a deal if they want to. It's not even tampering, right? They have that right. Nobody's done it yet. In fact, all you heard was teams saying no. The only team I heard first that even had interest today was Indianapolis is, quote, monitoring the situation, right? And then you have to look at what the 49ers are.
So yeah, they
they cut him. They cut the $17 million. They saved a bunch of money on the cap. But you still hear all this stuff about Aaron Rodgers and all this other stuff going on. Like, the other issue there's a whole bunch of stuff around Lamar Jackson. Is he a great player? Yes. But the same people that want Lamar Jackson here, he did win an MVP in 2019. So we'll put that out there. But here's what we're going to say.
Still not great.
All the people that want Lamar Jackson here are the same people that complain that the quarterbacks can never stay healthy. Last I checked, Lamar Jackson didn't finish the last 2 seasons.
He's right in that same wheelhouse.
There's one other thing that sets him apart from other quarterbacks. Other quarterbacks, especially when they sign a long-term big deal, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Roethlisberger used to do it, Peyton Manning, all the quarterbacks that make big money will usually restructure their deal so much in a way each year that they can go out and get free agents, right? It's an easy restructure. Yeah. You call the agent, say, hey, I need to do this because we need to create this amount, boom, 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 boom,
we need
right?
a running back, someone who can complement our quarterback. Help us win.
For 2 years, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, who acts as his own agent, couldn't get anything done.
Nope, no restructures.
Don't you want a guy who's going to be like
a team player?
It's not so much he's going to be a team player, but you have to me it's the logistics. I want my quarterback focusing on the X's and the O's, not the T's and the I's.
Not that
right.
Side of life.
That's like if you can have a law degree and be a starting quarterback in the National Football League, bless you. Like, you are a rocket scientist. I don't think anybody can do that. Like, I don't remember. I couldn't balance my own checkbook at 25, and like, this dude's acting as his own agent. And then there's all this other stuff, and he doesn't seem to be
NFL.
Right, I mean, and
there are.
It's a constant thing. So you have to sell yourself to this franchise, and they have to be able to build this team around you. If they can't build a team around you because you're not coming off of your contract stuff every year, like, they're not going to be able to win. They're not going to want that headache. Like, there's a lot of moving parts with Lamar Jackson that are not the typical moving parts that you would have with a guy. But like I said, the amazing part to me is the 49ers fan base, which is injury phobic, would love to have Lamar Jackson here, who is
it's just all
full of
David's
injury.
Comments about Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Look, if we need a tackling dummy, like,
hey, listen, if we need a
live
boy,
one.
Zeke can wear his belly shirt.
One more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Ty. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say one more thing about Lamar, and Matt, you brought it up that no one is talking about and just overlooking is his contract. He's due $32 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big chunk of money.
It's a big,
huge,
right? He wants
like the
more.
Aaron Rodgers thing, right?
Yes.
Like, we talked about how he's never coming to the Niners because we can't own that Aaron Rodgers nut.
Exactly.
Someone's got to bite that big piece of the apple with Lamar Jackson, and I just don't see a lot of teams with big capital going for it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm sure the Ravens, everybody just looks at the Ravens saying, oh, give us 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
But you got to take all that contract.
Pony up, or
Take all of it.
we ain't
You
taking
know,
the
in
boy.
teams, and I'm pretty sure there's some teams out there saying, "Hey, how about you pay for 10 of it? We'll pay the remainder,
Right.
and that we'll give you the 2 first." And the Ravens will be like, "No.
Because
He's your guy now. You take on that contract. We're not paying anything." So that goes into it.
There's also to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying there, Ty, too. There's a lot of teams in the league that think that the reason that they did this, outside of the fact that if they'd put the exclusive franchise tag on them, it would have cost them an extra like $12 million, right? So they've already decided that they can lop off $12 million off the top by letting him talk to other people if they want to talk to him, right? But other teams around the league think that they're trying to get this done because they haven't been able to do it. So a team's going to go through this whole thing, wine and dine him, give him a tour of the city, sign him to an offer sheet, and then Baltimore's going to be like, "Oh, thank you. I have been dying to do this. Thank you so much." And then just match it and move on.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody, like the other team kind of acts as like the de facto agent in this thing, right? And that's a big to do. And then you've got to tie your salary cap up for, I think it's 5 days or however long it is. So if you offer this guy a $55 million guaranteed contract, you better have $55 million in cap space there, Shecky.
Yep.
And you need it for 5 days. You need it for 5 days full. It's like how your credit card lines have to be when you're buying a house, right? Don't touch anything. If there's one extra dollar on your statement, nothing. Yeah. Do your pre-balloting and vote first, and don't do it after. Same deal, like whole 9 yards. So, and it's a mess. It's like one thing after another. It's like, man, I really want this car, but
I can't
the insurance
buy it
is really expensive.
for sure,
And
I can buy the house.
I don't have a garage for it, and like, the parts. I mean, the parts are ridiculous. He's like a Saab, man. Like, that's really what it boils down to.
Saab.
Like, there's not a ton of Saab dealerships that are just right nearby.
With
like the parts are expensive. You love the car. You absolutely love the car. When it's
a great
running,
car.
it's the greatest thing in the world.
Beautiful.
He's a Saab or an Audi, man. It's the same ball of wax.
Oh, don't even get me started on Audis. Never again, ever.
Oh yeah.
He's just not a good fit for the 49ers.
Not for the Niners.
He's a run first. I said this last week. He's a run first quarterback. Look at all the weapons we have.
We don't need him.
Right. Exactly.
Couldn't run him up the middle. The fan base would get mad.
Jerry Rice, especially.
Jerry Rice should just start throwing goat fuel at people.
The red wine he's throwing it at the people.
Right. I forgot my next question.
That's okay. It's fine. We are completely off the rails tonight.
Exactly. Yes, we
it's totally okay.
It's fine. So are we done in free agency? Are we, besides the kicker, are we bringing in Darius Slay? Are we what are we doing?
One of 5 teams that have checked in on him. It kind of fits with the arms race in the NFC, right? Like Cowboys just went out and traded for Steph Gilmore. By the way, isn't it funny that the Cowboys are building from the outside in as opposed to the inside out? Isn't that weird? Isn't that like? Are you going to learn from your? Are you ever going to learn from your history at all, Jerry? No, we do care because we want to know how to not do it because they held on for Zeke Elliott 2 years too long and had to get rid of Amari Cooper.
And now he's a free agent.
And held back Tony Pollard, right? Yeah. Like, when you get it wrong, when you get an extension wrong, like what they did, the Zeke Elliott thing was ridiculous. Stay home.
Ugly. The Zeke Elliott thing was ugly. Yeah. I agree.
Like, shout out to Zeke for getting it done, but like, you're going to let your whole team be held hostage by Zeke Elliott?
Yep.
Are you really kidding me right now? Like, and they did. They chose Zeke Elliott over Amari Cooper in a league that really values wide receivers over running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're running out and making sure that you're getting your secondary all taken care of. Well, that's great. Your secondary can cover all day, but if nobody's getting any pressure on the quarterback outside of Micah Parsons, then you're probably gonna have some things going on. Also, they didn't seem to really stop the run all that hotly either. So like they weren't real. They were good, but they were kind of paper tigery. And to me, when you're paper tigery, you got to toughen it up on the inside. They decided to toughen it up on the outside. So, geez golly, hope that works out for you in the NFC East. But them's the breaks. I like the way we're built. This is the way winners build teams. Winning franchises build teams the way the 49ers are building them right now. They're going to get somebody really good in the second wave of free agency. They'll probably get somebody good really in the third wave of free agency. It's just what winning teams do. They're building a program and have built a program that people want to be a part of, that the people that they want to be a part of want to be a part of, right? Like they fit,
Right.
They fit the culture. That's what you're looking for. That's how you get this thing to sustain for longer than say 3 to 4 years. This is how you actually extend the golden Harbaugh era, right? Because you keep that eye towards the future. And now you've got the stability here and you're on year 6, year 7.
And for the longest time, San Francisco really wasn't a desired destination.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but now it just, everybody wants to come here. Yeah.
Nobody was beating down the door to play for Jim Tom Sula, apparently. It just wasn't.
Or Chip Kelly.
Or Chip Kelly.
Right. I mean, I was going to say poor Jimmy T inherited. I wouldn't say anyone was ever beating down the door or not wanting to come play for Jim Tom Sula. Jim Tom Sula was a great position coach. Everyone loved Jim Tom Sula. He got put in a fail position. I still hate that Jim Tom Sula was given the head coaching role knowing he was going to fail and we were going to let him go. Jimmy T did not deserve that. And I don't know. He'd still probably be a position coach if not for what happened. But he was great at what he did, and I think Jimmy T, sadly, it was a bad situation for him.
So, with losing who we lost and keeping who we have and adding, are we, and you know what? I actually wasn't going to ask this, but I'm going to ask it. Are we better? Are we worse? Or are we the same?
Well, we already have a better third QB now, right? To me, Sam Darnold is an upgrade over Josh Johnson.
Focus on the starters, man.
Right? No, I'm starting from the bottom up.
QB who's not even going to play this year.
I'll go with
Come on, man.
But considering what we've been through, Ty,
that happened once.
That happened
once. Let it go. Be Elsa. Let it go.
Yeah. I still have PTSD from that game. So still, to me, that's a start. Okay, but in all seriousness, though, the Hargrave thing is the he's it. That makes that defense that much better. It brings that tenacity to that line, that little extra kick that this team needed, right? They're just that to me. So to me, just in that aspect, they're better. And well, fun fact, we didn't have Manny Mosley in the NFC title game last year anyways. You do lose Azeez Al-Shire, but you kind of knew you were losing Azeez Al-Shire. So you hope Warren Burks is good. Or, this team has, in the past, this franchise has drafted some linebackers in the draft. And those linebackers have been very impactful in their rookie years. So, and I mean throughout the history, it is not crazy to think that one of the 47 picks that they have this year could possibly play a linebacker, right? And may have some experience playing linebacker and some talent playing linebacker, perhaps in a system similar to ours, right? Or something they can learn on. I have faith that if that were to happen, they could be coached and coached well.
Becca, what do you think?
Well, I think we knew we were never going to be able to keep all of our free agents. That was a foregone conclusion. We had so many people left a very long, roll the toilet paper out the door list of free agents. And there was no way we were signing all of them. We knew we were going to lose a lot of people. We've signed some of our guys back. Some of them, sadly, we were losing. But I guess the management team thinks we're able to backfill with our guys that we already know we have, or we're going to be able to do something in the draft or free agency. I mean, we've lost some key positions. I don't think we're all heartbroken over Mike McGlinchey leaving and some of those guys. Robbie, I think, if we're in negotiations with Robbie to bring him back, I love that. I think that's a key position that if we can solidify the kicker, great. But we're like losing cornerbacks, and like every day I'm like, oh, Ebicom is gone, oh, Ridgeway's gone, like all these guys. But the team must be, a front office must be confident that our backup guys are good enough, or we're going to be able to draft well enough, or free agent moves that we're able to pull some guys in to help solidify that. I don't think we're in a bad place. I think what we did with the defensive line is an amazing move. I think they're if Tim Kawakami's right, and I don't know because I can't. All I saw was someone retweet what he said, that we're not done yet. I'm not sure what that means, but if we make another big splash, it'll be, I think, a small ripple in the pool, because I don't think we're gonna make any more big splashes. But otherwise, I think we're gonna use our picks and we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna backfill in the draft.
I do agree with you as far as our depth, and we through the past couple of years we've always centered around our depth, and we did know that we were going to lose who we were going to lose. Obviously they have a plan for that.
Can't afford everyone.
Right. Can't afford everyone. We can't keep everyone. So they definitely have a plan for that. I am happy with the Hargrave signing. The Isaiah Oliver signing is key as well.
That was today, right?
Yes, that was like probably
cornerback, right? Like
close to 2 hours ago.
From
Atlanta.
From
Atlanta.
Yeah,
Have details on that contract come out yet, by the way?
Not yet.
I know it's 2 years, but other than that, that's
all I saw too. But
that's all
I was
I got.
like, okay,
I can't wait for
so
the details to compare that to the Mosley contract. That I find that stuff fascinating, right?
Yeah.
To see who they gave what to, and because then you're really seeing the numbers and basing it off of what they see, right? So.
But I think we are better. I would just like us to solidify some more depth pieces, because that's what we definitely need. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, just looking at the starters, we're better. I don't think when you look at the defense, the entire defense is back.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, right? Remember Drake Jackson played last season. He flashed. He showed brilliant play until he hit the wall. So imagine him getting conditioned for the full season. I got confidence he'll play well. The biggest hole last season was the second defensive tackle spot. We just couldn't find a guy to solidify that position. Now we got a stout guy there. Guess what? You can't double team Eric Armstead and triple team Nick Bosa and leave the other two guys one-on-one anymore. That ain't happening. So that line is going to be very scary, right? That makes us stronger right there.
Kalia Davis gets to understudy under him now too. Don't forget about that.
We got depth there too. Kalia Davis, we signed Givens. We still got Kinlaw there, rotational guy. If we could just flash in that rotation, we're okay. So we're fine. Offensively, everybody's back. We just got a hole at right tackle. Well, everyone thinks it's a hole because McClitchy's gone, forgetting that when he was injured, McKivitz played. He's got experience there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on his team for years. He's covered for Trent Williams. He's got experience.
Yeah.
So if he can step up and be consistent, we're fine. We got all these picks. They do a hell of a job picking late in the draft, filling this team. They still got the second wave of free agency. One thing to look out for is they managed to like find these guys on the cheap that fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, we signed this dude. And then next thing you know, he's in the game. You're like, wow, well, he just got the pressure. He just got that sack. Wow. Okay. That was a good signing.
Well, I mean, getting Brunskill back, I think is a big, big piece for us. You know, he was offered more money and stayed. So I think that's really, really key for us. You got
Did
a
he
guy.
really stay? I thought he left.
No, he went to
Brunskill's-
Tennessee.
Oh, no.
Tennessee. Brendel. You're talking about
Brendel.
Big Brendel.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Brendel.
Brunskill,
To be
Brendel,
our
I was like,
offensive lineman, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Right. Like
They're
it
all like,
shouldn't.
it's happening so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, Brendel had a chance to go to the Jets and ended up staying
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So Brunskill did not, unfortunately, have that same sort of feeling. So,
Yeah.
I mean, good for him, I
Yeah.
guess. And Tennessee also doesn't have a state income tax, so that helps.
There you go.
Well, yeah.
Helps big time. So, yeah.
Especially
So
when 9 of your games, I think, are at home next. No, 8 of your games are at home next year.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think I don't know why people are saying we are weaker now.
We're
That
not.
just doesn't make
We're
sense.
We're in a good position. I really do think we had a ton of free agents. We can't keep them all, and I think we've done a good job of keeping the ones that matter, and the ones we know we can't keep. They've already worked to backfill, and we're gonna do something in the draft or later to backfill. So I think we're good.
I don't.
Maddie, what do you think about what my cousin John says?
I would have to say no. I really like Diamador Lenore. I think he's developing. I think he can be. He projects to me to be kind of that Eric Davis type of corner, right? He's not gonna.
Yep.
I don't expect him to be Sauce Gardner, Deion Sanders, or anybody like that. But like to me, he's a solid number 2 corner. That's what you want him to be. And you've got Mooney Ward on the other side, and he's super cost effective, like crazy cost effective. And corner is one of those positions where like you need young athletic guys that are not expensive, because if you have too much money in your secondary, you probably don't have enough money on your defensive line, or you really hammered your defensive line of the draft. Congratulations. So you can only have one or the other, right? And to me, I would much rather have that stronger defensive line, because they're going to get that pressure first. I've seen a lot of shitty secondaries carried to Super Bowls because the defensive line was good, right? Like a couple of those giant Super Bowl teams, they did not have like the greatest secondary of all time, but they had really, really good pressure, and that's really all they needed.
Isn't Patrick Peterson kind of old? Isn't he older?
He signed with someone, yeah. He is not the Pat Pete from Arizona.
Yeah, he's not that guy. He's not that guy.
I think isn't he was he with Minnesota last year?
He was with
Minnesota last year. He was part of the Great Purge. And of course, there's another thing too. You still got players out there. Zadarius Smith, I still don't think has signed yet, has he?
Nope.
There's a lot of guys that have been cut. You got Yannick Ngakoue, Zadarius Smith. There are going to be all sorts
hasn't
of different.
Cut him yet, I don't think.
No, he's still
with the team.
He's supposed to be rumored, whatever. But you've got guys like that are on that fence that are really good that may get cut, right? Like that stuff's going to happen, and it's going to keep happening. And you need to be kind of on the go for when that stuff happens, when somebody hits the market. So I don't expect them to like start hammering away at what's left at free agency. I think they're going to let some things kind of fall to them and let the market fall to them. So I think what you have for a roster right now, man, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like at the start of training camp, because you're probably going to have some guys that fall that we really would not expect to been here, particularly on that edge based on the way the market's going at this point.
And then having Jimmy Ward leave, they definitely expected that for sure. I mean, we all did. but they quickly fill that with Isaiah Oliver.
I tell you, if there's
So-
one position on the team that was easy to replace, it was his.
Mhm.
It was him. Especially when you think about our team, the way we use that nickel linebacker is basically like a nickel cornerback. It's basically like a small linebacker.
Yeah.
He plays close to the line of scrimmage. He's there to help enforce the run. And sometimes we line him up man to man. So he's got to be able to run. So with him leaving, guess what? Remember, one of the people they quickly elevated was McCrary Ball, who was what?
Yes.
A safety converted to linebacker. So that means he's undersized and he can run and he can do some hitting. Same
It's like they've
position.
got a type or something.
Exactly. If you look at Isaiah Oliver, 6 foot tall, 210 pounds. He's short and stocky.
Same
Basically
like Jimmy.
same MO, like
Yeah.
an undersized linebacker. You see that?
Yep.
So you sense the theme there. So it's like, you know what? We can fill that in. That's not a position we're going to invest in heavily. We can fill that in with some other guys and kind of keep this rolling if we need to.
They benched Jimmy Ward in his previous role and made him take on another role so he would get playing time.
Mhm.
That is how much they valued Jimmy Ward. So
Well, I think
my dog
I
even
think
agrees.
they valued them. They want their best like 11 on the field.
They do.
But it's like, okay, once you're a free agent, are we going to pay for you or can we let you walk? Remember, we had K'Wan Williams, who was fantastic at corner, at
Yep.
nickel corner,
Mhm.
and we let him walk.
And he
Let him
didn't do
go.
much with Denver last year.
Yeah. So it's one of those positions like maybe guard where we don't pay much money on. We'll look for the next guy in line to replace you when your time is up.
There are some
Do
teams
we,
that are really good at finding specific positions. And it seems like
Mhm.
they're really good here at finding nickel corner. It's like how the Steelers always find good wide receivers, right?
There you go. Perfect
And
example.
it makes no sense. You would expect
Yep.
the Steelers to be always finding good running backs and good offensive
Mhm.
linemen. But no, they always find a stud wide receiver. And you're like, did they do this
Yeah.
again? Right? They do.
Mhm. Now, do we address cornerback in the draft?
Of course. There's
Yeah.
got to be some sort of secondary going on back there. Especially if Ambry
Yeah.
Thomas doesn't do anything.
you
He's
still
on the
need
get
to-
in or get out train.
Yeah, you still need the depth. And we talked about this earlier in the show. In the draft is where we're going to build out our depth, build out the back end of that roster, right? Think about it. We have no backup safety right now. So
That's
you're
true.
going to see some safeties come in, unless we re-sign the guys from the practice squad. There's only one safety on the practice squad. So you're going to see safeties come in. They're going to look for depth at CB because you always have to bring a guy in because we don't know. Like we said, Ambry Thomas isn't here. The cornerstone of the defensive back group, Dante Johnson, is still recovering from his ACL
49ers
injury.
legend.
And he's a free agent, so we don't know if he'll be we know he'll be re-signed. It's just a matter of when. So
After the
you're
pup
going
list, of course.
exactly. So you gotta bring in guys. We always have 90 guys at camp. We got to bring in guys to fill them out, to fill out the roster.
Couldn't agree more that we're a Ward injury away from having a tough secondary, but again, you can make up for a tough secondary if you have a good pass rush.
Boom, and that's what they addressed this
And
year.
that to me is the key. If you have a better pass rush, you can have a little bit less in the secondary.
Takes the stress off the secondary.
Yeah,
You need more than Nick Bosa pressuring the quarterback, and
Yeah.
at times it seemed like that's all it was last year.
Yes.
This is sending the bat signal to Drake Jackson. We need you.
Yeah.
We want you. We love you. We need you to take that next step, buddy. Right?
Go back. The past 2 seasons, come playoff time, what did teams do? They identified, all right, Bosa and Armstead is there. We're going to go that way. we're going to run away from them, or we're going to double team them and leave these guys one-on-one and take advantage of it. That's been the MO. So we addressed that this year. You can't do that anymore.
And we haven't we didn't address Eric Armstead, the fact that he's there as well today.
Yeah.
How much does this open up for him, right?
Right.
Now now think of the versatility you've got. You want to bring him off the edge now? You can do that.
So that's part of that rotation. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Because if you want to go heavy inside, remember, look at John Lynch's MO. He builds from the inside out. His first two signings here, I think
we're at like 12.
Yeah, but his first two signings, he re-signed
12 and
Kevin Givens.
Million, I think.
He re-signed Kevin Givens. Well, he signed Gibson too. So it's the first like three signings. Kevin Givens, Gibson, and then it was the defensive tackle, Hargrave.
Yep.
Like he's making sure the defensive line has some bodies. So like Kevin Givens is a big guy. You could put him next to Hargrave, and like Matt said, bump Armstead back out to the other side, like on base downs. Now you got a stout defensive line on base downs. There's strength there. I don't see how people say, "Oh, we got weaker." Man, we can do so much. Just to sign the Hargrave,
so much more versatile.
Yeah,
so much more ways to attack now. Like I don't understand how people watch games and things, but these are also the same people that tell you, they wait to see what Stephen A. Smith says, because I know when I get up in the morning, the first thing I think of is, what does Stephen A. Smith think of the 49ers?
Yeah. What is he
because if Stephen A.
Niners?
Smith tells me that they should get Lamar Jackson, well then, boy, I really want that guy. I want him right now.
Fernando? Yeah.
The best thing about Stephen A. Smith is that he's a Dallas hater.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is the best part about watching him, because he will hate on them every day of the week. So, yeah.
But yeah, that
still,
D-line, I mean, the D-line, the offensive line, I think we're going to be okay. And, like I just mentioned, we didn't really say much about Eric Armstead, but I think he's going to have a huge year, considering with the addition of Hargrave. But do you guys have anything else?
Yeah,
did you see Fred Warner restructure the deal, by the way?
Yes.
Yep.
And Mooney Ward as well.
Mooney Ward did too. Yeah.
So that usually means other things are afoot. Somebody's going to try to prove Tim Kawakami right.
I think we have a like 13 or 12.5 million in cap space, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. We're a little over 13.
Yeah.
We don't know the details of, I think, Brendan's contract, and we don't know Oliver's contract. We just hit today. So that's going to factor into it.
To see that one,
but
that one's going to be my favorite one to look at.
And I would imagine Nick Bosa will be extended sometime closer to training camp, like the others.
Yeah.
When do they do it in the past? Right? It's you can set your
closer
watch
to training camp.
Who gets it this year? Oh, it'll be him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The real interesting thing to see is going to be how they handle Brandon Ayuk.
It's very true.
Yeah,
they'll get to him.
They will. I mean, it's a succession order. Like it's kind of how that goes. So
the Niners are going to do how they, do things.
Yeah,
but
trust the process.
Yes. All right. Well, if nothing else, let's do that hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning.
Where is
it? I was like, where is it?
Go, Rebecca.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Ooh, hey, it's me. Listen, we're going to do what we're going to do. The Niners already know what they want out of free agency. I never second guess or question what management does. They're going to do it. They're going to do what they think is best for the team. And hey, that's what we're going to live with. It's what we do as fans. And hey, they do what they do. Go Niners. Go Kyle and management, and it's all good.
Chris Kasarik is a gem.
Yeah, they're all
Our D line is going to rock out this year as usual. Trust the Shanna plan. Don't get too upset about Nick Bosa not being extended yet. The Niners are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to extend him probably towards training camp. And go Niners, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
There you go. Hey, we give a lot of credit to Chris Kasarik. Maddie talked about him earlier. If you're a D lineman, you come here. We got to start giving our flowers to Chris Forrester as well for the offensive line. Everyone was panicking last season, and the offensive line was pretty darn good. We got 4 to 5 or 4.5 of the 5 back this season. I expect them to be even better. So, shout out to Chris Forrester.
This move to get Hargrave from the Philadelphia Eagles has such a huge throwback feel of when the 49ers went and got Ken Norton Jr. from the Dallas Cowboys before the 1994 season. They addressed an area of need by pillaging it directly from the rival that was ahead of them. Good things happening. That's good karma. It's a good move. It's good energy. I like it.
Shout out to everyone in the chat. Like, subscribe. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang.
See you next week.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.